This answers so many questions. America, for the last 4 years, has sorely missed a border czar that at least made coherent sense among the crisis of illegal immigration. But I think Tom Homan has finally set the record straight for how the Trump administration expects to tackle the border crisis, and it got this CBS host very uncomfortable when she realized no rhetorical media trick was going to work on him. As always, be sure to subscribe for more content like this and watch this for yourself before we dive in.
Deportations are now at a decade high. They were at the end of 2024, nearly 300,000 people deported by the Biden administration. The incoming administration has promised the largest deportation operation in history. What's the number? What's the measure of success?
Well, let's talk about this administration, what they claim is a huge deportation number this year. Actually, if you drill into the numbers, about 80% of those numbers are actually Border Patrol arrests that the enforcement removal operations of ICE process and move back across the border. They weren't internal enforcement arrests. If you look at the historic number of illegal entries the last 4 years, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, has the lowest number of deportations in the history of the agency. So they're playing a numbers game, just like they play the numbers game and the number of people coming across the border.
Okay.
So even though they claim we got the highest number of deportations, look at those deportations, who actually made those arrests, who actually removed those people. It's not ICE.
Okay, it's still a higher number than the Trump administration, but I want to ask you, for the incoming Trump administration, what's the measure? It is not deportations at the border. You're saying you are going to measure success by people who are already internal in the country to deport. That's how you're going to measure it. And what's that figure?
Well, again, let's get the numbers straight. You say they're higher than Trump administration. It isn't about how many get deported, because Trump had illegal border crossings at a 45-year low. So, of course, removal is going to be lower. The number is how many were released into the United States that are now in the country illegally. Under Biden administration, we have millions of people released in the United States who have lost their hearings. And we got millions of people that are released in the United States despite a statute saying that you cannot be released in the United States without proper documentation. You shall be detained. So you can compare the numbers of deportations under Trump versus Biden, but when you consider a 45-year low in crossings, of course the number of deportations is going to be lower because we don't have that population to process and deport.
I am so tired of these sly media tricks, and clearly so is Tom Homan. Did you catch the sleight of hand that this CBS host did here? Let me explain. Ever since Barack Obama got an unwelcome title of being the deporter-in-chief, many Democrats will give you a defense of Obama's track record on deportations that ironically digs a new hole when talking about Joe Biden. Simply put, during the Obama era, we saw the definitions of deportation and expulsion starting to merge. Expulsion used to refer to incidents where illegal immigrants trying to cross the border were apprehended by Border Patrol agents and sent back within just a few hours. Meanwhile, deportation is a more formal procedure of rounding up someone far inland in the United States once it is proven they are illegally residing in the country and sending them back to their home country. When reports and statistics conflated these two things into one broad term of deportation, Barack Obama's record went way up. He even remarked back 2011 admitting, quote, "The statistics are actually a little deceptive because what we've been doing is, with the stronger border enforcement, we've been apprehending folks at the borders and sending them back. That is counted as a deportation. Even though they may have only been held for a day or 48 hours, sent back, that's counted as a deportation." And next, during Donald Trump's administration, these encounters at the border went down as a result of much tighter border controls, bringing down the statistics of Trump's deportations when reported. And when the illegal immigration crisis went out of control under Joe Biden's presidency, it gave mainstream media outlets the chance to play on this technicality to announce that Joe Biden had deported more people in his administration than Donald Trump. Not just that, I think you saw something similar done here live to Tom Homan, but they forgot that he's been doing this for 4 decades at this point.
For day one, can you help us understand what the plan is? A number of industries in this country hire undocumented workers because they are cheap labor. On day one, are you going to restart raids on work sites, on construction sites?
The President Trump's been clear, as I've been clear from day one, that President is going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. And have you heard from your previous segments, we have a huge national security issue in this country. The southwest border has become the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen in this nation. FBI Director Wray agrees with me. We know there's people in this country who pose a national security threat. They've arrested a record number of people on the terrorist watch list, a 3,500% increase in people on the terrorist watch list being arrested at the border. We got over 2 million known gotaways. We know 2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested, weren't vetted, weren't fingerprinted. So you got to ask yourself, why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn themselves into Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care?
I think it's been said enough times, and even Donald Trump came out to announce this in no uncertain terms during his interview with Kristen Welker last month. The mass deportation drive for the Trump administration will be more like an escalation ladder. As Trump himself said, they'd start from illegal immigrants with a criminal record inside of the country. And surprisingly, until the latter got to the top of Dreamers, he was a lot more lenient and willing to negotiate with the Democrats to carve a path to citizenship. Besides considering the massive logistical challenge of finding, processing, and deporting over 10 million people, leaves a lot of room for the media to scaremonger about some kind of government militia force that would be going door to door searching for innocent people. It's almost an impossible logistical challenge, and both Trump and Homan understand that. And that's why a smart political strategy to divert the conversation to what really matters in the first place, which is deporting criminals and stopping the flow of illegal border crossings at the southern border.
What you just said in there, it sounded like you were talking about collateral arrests. So you're going to target people you know are criminals, but if they happen to be living in a house where there are other undocumented people, you're going to sweep them up too. That's what I think you were just saying there. I wonder how you're going to parse out some of those collateral arrests. For example, will Dreamers be protected? Donald Trump has said he wants to work with Democrats to protect them and give them status. That takes a long time in Congress. What do you do in the meantime? How do you make sure they're not caught up in a dragnet?
Look, every person ICE arrests, they do what we call a fugitive operations spreadsheet. They know exactly who they're going to arrest. They know exactly where they're probably likely to find them, and they have a lot of information on that arrest. Other people that are there that may be illegal, they'll handle by case basis. Okay. The concentration, I want to be clear, on some public safety threats. More agents in the jails means less agents in the neighborhoods. That's why I'm pleading with sanctuary cities. Let us in the jail to arrest the bad guy. That way you're not forcing in the community. So, if you go to an immigrant community and ask them, would you rather have ICE operating in your local jails, or would you want them in the community? What do you think they're going to say? They don't want bad criminal aliens in their neighborhoods either. So let us work with the jails. Let us work with law enforcement. Sanctuary cities are not safe for the immigrant community, and not safe for our officers.
And if you want proof of where the American people stand on this, all you need to do is see how abysmally Joe Biden is rated on this particular issue of immigration. He stands just around 34%, which means even half of his own base cannot bring themselves to say that Joe Biden has been anything other than a total disaster on this crisis. And you know why that matters? With an approval rating that low, it also shows the kind of mandate you have to make the tough decisions necessary. Biden didn't have that, but Trump will, and that's why it's worth keeping an eye out for what he does with this mandate, especially when it will require him to create more regional cooperation with Mexico and South America to protect America's southern border.
But then where do you send people? Because some of these countries like Venezuela don't accept deportations right now. Mexico's president indicated her country might be willing to receive non-Mexican migrants who are deported. How does that work? Does the U.S. pay Mexico to then ship those people off somewhere else?
Well, first of all, we got President Trump coming in the Oval Office, and he's proven during his first administration his leadership on illegal immigration was a game changer because, for instance, El Salvador wouldn't take back MS-13 members when I was the ICE director. It took President Trump 48 hours to get El Salvador to take back their criminal aliens into their prisons. And Mexico didn't want to do the Remain in Mexico program, but President Trump was able to get Remain in Mexico established in Mexico. He was able to get Mexico put military in the southern and northern border. President Trump's a strong president. This administration has not forced these countries to take them back. And we have what we call a third safe country. We already have countries talking about taking back people from other countries. If for instance, Venezuela don't want to take their people back, there's other ways we can do it. There's other countries be willing to accept them. We're hoping that President Trump will work with Venezuela and like he did with Mexico and El Salvador and get these countries taken back. If they don't, They're still going to be deported. They're just going to be deported to a different country. We're not going to be held up on removing public safety trust from this country. We got to put the safety of the American people first. We've had too many young women murdered and burned alive by members of Venezuelan gangs. They need to be a priority under this administration. They're going to be a priority starting day one, and they will be deported.
Not just that, remember that the crisis at the southern border isn't just a result of illegal immigrants from Mexico, but individuals from over 160 countries that have been apprehended at the border. How do people as far away as India and Southeast Asia reach the US-Mexico border? It's simple. The border crisis is being exploited with people looking to somehow set foot on the US mainland among all the confusion and incompetence. And with Donald Trump in office, that's at least a realization that will inform the border policy, and even Mexico signaled its willingness to work with the Trump administration to make that happen. But let me know in the comments if you agree, because it's still early to tell until Donald Trump and Tom Homan are seen to take the first steps in that direction after the 20th of January, just 2 days away.